Hello Reborners, my name is Karen and this is Making Reborn Dolls with Karen. We're back with Logan and this is how he looks now. He's looking pretty good. He's a lot lighter. You can see his colors are a lot lighter than they were before. Much, much lighter. He's nowhere like the way he looked before he went in. He's nice and cool, so we're ready to move on. We can leave him this color or we can add more color to him. I'm going to leave him the color that he is. Not every doll has to be dark, dark. We've got our next color laying out. It is 05, Skin 05. And so we are going to get our sponges out. I have different sponges for each color that I use. And I use them over and over again. They look like that. And I'm kind of out of breath. Anyway, we're ready to put some colors on him. And our first color is this one. We're going to put 2 coats of this color on him. And we're going to let it dry in between. Oh, crap. Watch out getting paint on your hands because you will get it all over your doll. We don't want our fingerprints in skin color on our doll. Okay, here we go. It looks dark. I know it looks dark, but it's not that dark. I know we promised we was going to mix a paint color too. We're going to do that probably after he gets finished getting this coat of paint. We'll go on and mix the blush. That's the color I said I was going to mix, was blush, because of all the colors that I've already got paint in a jar over there, I have the least of the blush. So we'll mix a blush. And it's the one I have to actually mix the colors together too. So it's a little bit hard to, mix that color. A little harder than mixing a straight color that's already the color it needs to be. We have to doctor that one up a little because, well, they just make it too pink. So in order to darken it, we have to add some other colors to it. Well, just one more color, but we'll do that here in a minute. We just dab it on here. So we just put it on our sponge and we're just sponging it on. I did put some on with a brush, only in the spots where I thought that the sponge might not can reach. But I went on and I sponged over those spots anyway, just in case, because we don't really want a brushy looking strokey thing on our doll. If you can see the brush strokes, it's not good. So we want it to look like a sponge put it on, because the sponge makes a little skin kind of texture. I don't know how to explain it. It kind of has a little bit of a pore effect on your doll, because you see it's a airy and spacey, and it's got some spaces in there where when you sponge it up and down on your doll, it'll make those areas look like almost like they have pores. And it's a little bigger than an actual pore because, well, this is a sponge. See, you can see it. And rather than a stroke mark on your doll, we don't want stroke marks on our doll. And we're just going to sponge him real good until he's even and smooth. And he's about the same color all over. Well, his face is always going to be a little darker because it's blushed. Colors build up in these areas and we get a skin tone that we like. And I don't think that's dark enough. You can tell it is slightly darker than his leg. But it's not dark enough, so we're going to put 2 coats on it. And it's going to lighten when we bake it anyway. So we're going to put him down right here. And we're going to start working on his arms and legs. We're going to let that dry a little bit while we're doing his arms and legs. And we're going to brush it onto the feet. Everything on the doll gets this color. We don't leave anything out. We put it right over the nails, right over the lips, up in the nostrils of the nose, everywhere. The only time we skip a spot is, well, we just put the lip color on the lips and nails, and we just put the blue on the bottom of the feet, and then the rest of the foot gets the pink and we skip the blue. But as far as any other colors on the doll, they pretty much go everywhere. Every color all over the doll. Well, all the layers. This is what we call a layer. Now, this is not a wash. Washes are even more watery looking than this. This isn't really water, it's got paint thinner in it. There is no water used in heat set paint. But we're going to mix a color here in a minute, and you're going to see what I mean about how to mix it. I'm going to show you what the paint looks like before we put anything in it, like Exodus oil or... Now, this is a deep bend in this knee. Sometimes you can't get your sponge in there, so we're just going to take our brush and just go across it like this. We want to make sure color gets down in there, otherwise it's going to be a paler color when we're finished, and we don't want that. So here we go. We're going to learn to hold your doll by the rim. You can put some fingers inside the hole like this if you want to, but you need to be able to do all the part that's considered the skin, all the way up to that rim, painted. And if you're holding on to that part, you're going to miss some of it. So we're going to get this all over the doll real good, and then I just progressively go down these sponges. This is the one I use first. It's the hard, most dense sponge because it takes off the most paint. And we want to get all these little areas even and straight and the same color. So we're going to do this one first because it does a great job, for one thing. And it just gets wet too quick. If you're getting a lot of paint on your sponge, you can dab it on your paper towel like that. Then we're going to move to this one. It looks very dirty, but it's dry, so it doesn't hurt. It will still pick up paint. And we're going to put this one up and down on the doll a few times. This one's more airy and spongy. It's not as dense as that other one. And then we're going to move to this even cleaner one and do it again. And we want to get the paint as smooth and straight and pretty as we can get it. It makes the finish on your doll phenomenal. That heel doesn't look like it has any paint on it. There's a slight little bit of paint on your sponge. So if you see a spot that looks a little bit lighter, you can just dab it with your wet sponge and it'll usually even it out a little. Okay, so we're going to get some more paint. So every time you put your brush into this paint mixture, you have to mix it because it separates very rapidly. We're going to put some on our sponge like this so that we have it loaded. And then we're going to brush the fingers and the hand. All these fingers are separate, but when they touch, they're sort of touching each other, but they're not made together as one finger. So when they touch like that and they get hot, they stick sometimes, so you have to pull them apart. This thumb and this finger want to stick together. When I put him back in the oven, I might put a toothpick, not a toothpick, a swab between his fingers to keep them open. His hands are wanting to bend down a little more than they're supposed to. The position of their hands can best be seen on a blank kit. And if you pay attention to how they look, you'll notice that they'll start to turn down a little more, or they'll be a little closer to the other finger than they really should be. And then you can do something about it if you want them to go back to their original shape. And usually that means put something in between the fingers. You can roll up a paper towel or put a piece of polyfill between there to make the fingers stay back apart the way that they're supposed to be, so that when you bake them, they go back to their original shape. If it doesn't bother you, you don't really have to do it. It's not severely bad, but it is kind of bad. Just like that foot is getting a little bit more bent. But we don't have very many more bakes to go. Believe it or not, we're actually on the faster side of everything now. We'll be doing 2 coats of the colors that we're putting on this doll. I mean, if we're going to use 2 coats, we're going to put them on before we bake the doll. 2 coats. It's called stacking your layers. And we want to always make sure that when we're stacking layers, that we're using the same color each time on that layer, because we don't want to stack 2 different colors. It will look odd. And if you get something by chance, perfect. Let's say you got a certain look you was wanting on the doll real bad and you got it. And you go, I'm kind of scared to put another coat on because it might mess up what I've already done. Don't worry, just stop and bake. And then you have it locked in. Nothing is locked in until you have baked it, except maybe purple or blue might actually stain your doll to the point where you can't get it off. But the full intense color won't be there unless it's baked because it won't be permanent. You could get most of it off. And so if you get it to that point, like you're going, I've been trying so hard to get this color on this doll. I'm scared to put any more on her or him. I'm going to bake first. It's perfectly fine. You don't have to stack your colors. Anytime you think you have something the way that it should be, just go on and bake it to preserve that particular step from being messed up by more paint or a different color or whatever. You want to make sure it's baked. Baking makes it permanent. And when he comes out of the oven this time, we'll compare him to a finished kit and we'll compare him to a blank kit so you can see the progress. You'll be able to see that he's darker than a blank kit, but he's not as dark as a finished kit. When you first get your kits, of course, they're as light as they're probably ever going to be. They'll never be that light again. They could possibly be close to that color again, but they won't. Oh, my nails are so dirty already. Just goes to show you when you're making dolls, you can't have clean hands. It just doesn't, they don't go together. Yes, you should wash your hands often when you're making dolls, but just be warned, it's not going to get everything off of your hands. But it will make your hands cleaner so that you're less likely to get something on your hands onto your doll. Especially if you've been doing something like cleaning your house with a chemical or something. And you may have some of that chemical on your hands. You're definitely going to want to wash your hands to get it off because we don't want any chemical reactions with our dolls. This is the last piece, and then we're ready to start over again with the second layer. It goes pretty quick. It's only been 12 minutes, and I'm already finished. If this was the only layer of this color, you'd already be ready to put him back in the oven almost. We are going to refresh his nails and lips and inside of his nose with more color. Once again, this is a deep bend in his leg. I'm just going to dab a little back here to make sure. Better safe than sorry, I always say. A lot of times when you don't do it, you'll notice the difference after a few layers of paint. Some things you may not notice in this layer because it's very light. This color, even though it looks dark in the jar, keep in mind this is a middle color. They have lots of colors lighter than this one. 08, 07, and 06 and baby skin are all lighter than this one. So this is not even the lightest color. But here we are, and it's very light, as you can see, on your doll. It doesn't look that light in the jar. It looks very dark, but I'm here to tell you, it's not dark. In fact, this is a light color. There are plenty of other colors darker. Some people even darken up the darkest color. They put burnt sienna or burnt umber or one of them colors in it and make it even darker than these appear. So it's all subjective to what you want your doll to look like. Okay, now we're going to look at Logan. What we want is him to be dry. He shouldn't look any shiny, and he should feel powdery dry. When you touch him, he feels like he almost has powder on him. It's a different feel than the rough feel of his sealer texture. It's a little bit more powdery. It feels like almost that it could come off on your hands. You don't want to rub him hard because it might come off on your hands. But that's how he feels, like you put powder on him and now you're feeling of the powder and it feels like maybe it's going to come off, but it's not going to. Excuse me. It is the middle of allergy season here. It's not going to come off unless you rub him hard. So he is dry, so we can safely apply our second layer. Now, if he was shiny looking, or he had wet spots on him when you touched him, we would want to dry him a little bit with our heat gun. But usually if you pounce them like I did, they're going to be dry enough for the second coat. So here we go. We're going to put the second coat right on him. You can see his eyebrows are already getting dimmer. The more we paint them, the dimmer they're going to get. That's why we want to make them a little bit darker, only slightly though. When I say a little bit, I mean slightly darker than you really want them to be, because they are going to lighten up tremendously in the painting. This is what paint thinner does. It sort of dilutes paint. And think about pencil as being a type of paint. It's not, but it kind of behaves that way. If you bake it, it becomes more permanent, just like the paint. And if you put paint thinner on it, it thins it just like the paint. But it's not going to take it completely away usually if it's baked. That's why I put it on early. We're going to bake it on before we do anything else. And then it's not going to be super bold or dark, but it's still going to show. That's what we're after. Now we're going to do this coat just the same way as we did the other coat. We're careful to put it everywhere on the doll, even up in his nose. And we want every color that goes on our doll from here on out to go up in his nose. I don't usually put blue or purple. Sometimes I put purple. If I'm putting purple on the doll anyway, sometimes I will put purple up in the nose. It does darken the nose a little bit, but blue is counterproductive usually. Some of the colors neutralize each other. If you're putting, let's say, blue on your doll, and your doll is also going to get some yellow, you wouldn't want the blue and the yellow to touch each other. Because if you have a color wheel, if you don't have one, you can get one, a small one at some of these doll companies for like $1 or something. Or just look one up online. All you have to do is look at the color wheel, and whatever color is, let's say at the top, the opposite color is going to be at the very bottom. You go straight across the wheel to the bottom, and that's the color that would neutralize that color. And I believe purple and blue are really close to being neutralized by yellow. And red, I believe, might be green. I'm not sure. I can't remember. I can't remember all the colors that neutralize each other, but they will neutralize each other. And that's why I can't understand that. I just can't wrap my head around that primary method. You're putting your paints on red, yellow, blue, red, yellow, blue. Aren't they canceling each other out? I don't know. I mean, I don't know how that exactly works. I know they don't, usually in the primary method, they don't bake every single layer. So they're putting different colors on in succession of each other, and I think that's counterproductive. In my experiences, they seem to cancel each other out. And also, I lost my train of thought there. They don't just put them on in succession of each other. They also put many, many layers on. They might put 15 or 20 of each color on the doll. And I'm not sure that they don't just mix together even and make another color. You know, red and blue make purple, red and yellow make orange, you know. And if you're putting these colors on your doll without baking in between, are you making a new color on your doll? I don't know. I just know that my experiences with using those methods was very difficult. I had to worry over my doll too much. I don't want to do that. You see, I'm just very relaxed, and I'm just knowing what to do next, and I'm following my method. I have this method in my head. I already know this is the color I'm going to put on my doll, and I already know it. I'm going to put 2 coats on it. Experience has told me one's not enough. So rather than put a dark color on my doll, I'd rather put 2 lighter coats on. It works better. The doll doesn't look as chalky or as mucky looking. Really dark colors tend to muck up on your doll. And I guess you can see that that's very splotchy looking. That's why we use the drier sponge to kind of even it out. We don't want big blobby spots on our doll that are darker in some areas than other areas. So we just even it out with our little sponges. We're just going to make sure we pounce every part of this doll with this sponge over and over again. Not just one time, 2 or 3 times. And that way we know it's smooth and it's pretty and the colors are true. Once he bakes, this will be permanent on him. It won't be this dark, it will be much lighter. But you can tell already that this leg is darker than that arm, because this one has 2 coats and that arm only has 1. So it does change the color, it deepens it. And that's what we're looking for here, is a deeper color on our baby's skin, so that when we put our next color on, it will be dark enough to actually make a difference. Each color piled on top of the other color makes a skin tone that has depth and realism, more realism than it would if you just came up with some, whatever color you think the doll is at the end. If you came up with a color that was that color and put it all over the doll, it would be flat looking. Oh, and the dog's gonna bark. I don't know what's going on out there, but she's been barking for a while, even before I came online. I might have to get up and go see what she's barking at. I think I will. She doesn't stop until I do it. Ladybug, what is it? I'm gonna look out. Come on, let's go look out. Let's go see what it is. Come on. Let's look. Come on. Now, come on. Now, go lay down. Go on. She has to actually look out and see, oh yeah, it's nothing. You were right all along, it was nothing. I'll go lay down now. That's the way she is. She has to see for herself. Okay, here we are on this hand again that's almost too close to paint. We're going to do the best we can, and then we're going to put something in his hand to keep it open while it's baking. It'll work. You'll see the difference when he comes out. It's very, very hard to sponge his hand because it's so closed down. You almost want to just pull it up like this. Sometimes you have to. I don't like to do it because it can take paint off the doll just by pulling it up like that. But sometimes you just have to. That's the only way you can brush that, sponge that part, is to pull it up like that. That's why he needs something. I'm going to take like a toothpick or something. A swab. See how his finger's coming down and it's touching his thumb, and it shouldn't be doing that. I'm going to take this swab and I'm going to put it in his hand like that. And it's going to bring it up a little. And then as he's baking in subsequent times after that, I'll put something bigger and bigger in his hand. I don't know, maybe a sponge. I don't know what I'll put in there until it gets back to the shape that I think it should be. And by then we might be finished painting him, so it won't go back. Having to pounce this pretty hard. It needs some more paint on it, but I didn't put any on there, so I'm having to pounce it a little harder to get some color. If you pounce hard, see a lot of dark colors coming out of the middle of this sponge. I probably need to already change sponges, but I just don't do it very readily. Until the sponge won't work anymore, I tend to go on and use it. And it'll work for a long, long time, as long as it's getting to dry in between. If you're just constantly putting it up against a doll, it's going to start letting go of so much color. Deep from inside of the sponge, the dried up paint will start to activate again, and you'll start getting these big blobs of dark paint on your doll. And when you notice that, you're going to go, well, that's not working anymore. I'm going to throw it away and get another one. Sometimes you can take one of these and tear the end off and use it for that applying sponge, one of these softer ones, and then get a fresh new one to be your last sponge here. And that way they rotate around and they're not wasted. At some point, This one's going to stop taking up paint anyway because it's too wet. So at that point, it's time to throw this one out and tear that one into a new sponge. These fingers are molded together. That's why they look like that. They're supposed to look like they're touching because they are actually molded together. And so there's nothing to do about them. They just look like that. But when they are supposed to be more open than his hand is, sometimes heat will curl up the fingers or the toes or the foot or the arm or something. Sometimes the elbow will have an extra bend in it, a little extra bendy than it's supposed to be, and you just have to fix it. That's why we stuff the head so it doesn't get misshapen as well. It's harder to stuff the arms and legs because they're so skinny. And you can't put the glass in them. It gets too hot. I got to put something on this sponge. Don't forget, when you put your brush into the paint, you want to mix it. Otherwise, you're getting either super watery paint, and when I say water, I mean paint thinner, or super concentrated paint. Depending on where your brush lands when you first put it in there, it can plunge to the bottom and get a bunch of heavy paint in it, or it can superficially get just paint thinner in it. But the paint thinner separates from the paint as it sits. And the longer it sits, the more separated it is. That's why if your paint is too light, all you really need to do is put it over to the side, give it an hour, and let it separate. Come back with your bulb syringe. I didn't mention that you needed bulb syringes before. You don't really have to have them, but they're invaluable for this particular task. You can stick it superficially in there and siphon off some of the paint thinner and make your paint immediately darker by doing that. But don't throw it away. Whatever you siphon off of that paint, you can actually, she hears kids or something. Usually when she's barking like that, she hears a lot of kids. Anyway, you can save that paint thinner and put it in your little cup to clean your brush with. Ladybug, go lay down. There's nothing out there. Sometimes the kids are actually down in the yard part and you can't see them, but she can hear them talking or laughing or arguing or fighting or whatever they're doing. Sometimes it's adults getting loud with each other. This is an apartment complex, so it's rather loud down here a lot. And so she barks sometimes. Sorry for the noise. She usually doesn't bark very long, but sometimes she'll just keep on till you go to the door. And so rather than have that, I just get up and go to the door. And show her that it's nothing, so she'll shut up. It's really bad when she's doing it at night and you're trying to sleep and you can't go to sleep because she's just making all that racket, barking at people. And yes, people are on the street yelling and screaming sometimes at night. Like I said, it's an apartment complex and people are not quiet. They don't take into consideration that other people might need some quiet to sleep or something. They don't care. They're going to do what they want to do at the time they want to do it and forget you, you know. That's the way people mostly are. We are mostly quiet. Me and my sister live here together, sharing expenses because we both lost our husbands and our children are grown. And we're sort of on our own. And rather than just live all by ourselves, we just decided we could share expenses and not be lonely. And 99.9% of the time we get along famously. We do have our little moments because we are sisters. And sisters tend to argue sometimes. And we do too sometimes, but not very often. We almost always just, you know, one of us will just give in to the other one for whatever it is they want to do. And say, okay, whatever. And we'll just walk away to keep from arguing. Now that's 2 coats on his entire body. So now that we've done our 2 coats, he is much darker than he would have been without these 2 coats. And that's all we're going to put on him. So I'm going to put this brush away and I'm going to close up this paint. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to check his lips and his nails because we want them to stay. I heard that. I'm surprised she ain't barking at that. I'm going to keep this one out in case I need to pounce them a little more. Sometimes when you're looking them over, you have to pounce them a little more because you see something. So I keep this out just in case. So we're going to put a little more color on his lips and his nails. They're coming right along though. So his lips are about this color now, which is not dark enough for me. So we're going to put a little more on there and try to get him his lips a little bit darker. And now that we've started putting layers on him, we're actually, I'm not going to say we're working against the paint, but the paint does put a little film over the lips. And they will be slightly dimmer than they would have been without that layer on there. But they're not severely dimmed by the paint. And so I'm just going to put a fresh little layer on there and sort of build it up a bit. And this one can be thicker and darker if you want it to be. But we still have, besides this coat, we still have another coat that we can do on the, well, 2 more coats on the lips actually, but only 1 more on the nails if we want to tip them. And I said I was going to tip his nails so y'all could see how to do it. So if we want to tip them on the last step and not make a special bake just for tipping, which I don't want to do. I don't want a special layer just to special bake just to tip the nails. If it came down to that, I would just choose not to tip the nails. So what we have to do is make sure that his nails are right. We have this time and 1 more time to paint his nails. And if they're not right by then, we're going to skip tipping his nails because we'll have to paint them again. And like I said, I'm not going to do a whole layer, a whole bake, just to do his nails tipped. But we want his lips and nails to look as good as we can get them. And we want them to be even. So I'm going to be pulling a little bit of paint back off of here. Their lips have little lines in them, kind of like your lips do. And if you put too much paint on, this is a kind of a thick layer. If you put it on too thick, it starts to pull down in those little creases. And I don't want him to look like he has chapped lips. So I'm going to pull some of it off. Now I'm going to put a tiny bit in his nose because I don't like the color of it yet. It's going to get much, much lighter when it bakes. So I need a little bit darker in there. I'm doing that a little bit darker as well. Now we have to be careful with the nose. We don't want to put so much paint in there that it starts to run out or it starts to look like he's got a bloody nose. We don't want that. We just want to color it. A color that's not just plain vinyl color. Now that's what his lips look like now. And they will be a little bit lighter when he comes out. Now we're going to do his nails as well. And this is going to be a little bit tricky to put something between his fingers with his nails painted. But we're going to do it. We'll get it done. These thin little layers of paint are very beneficial to making these thicker layers that we're putting on now stick. We want them to look smooth and pretty. So by putting the thinner layers on first, we made sort of a base for it to stick to. Keep remembering this in your head. Paint will stick to paint. If you miss a spot on the doll, that spot will always be lighter. Not because no paint is sticking to it, but because less paint is sticking to it. Because on one of your layers, it was a little bit shy of paint. But what we're doing is giving the nails and the lips a base for this thicker layer that we're putting on this time to stick. So it won't run off and go like down to the base of the nail and look like you just outlined the nail. It can still run, yes it can. It can still be uneven, yes it can do that too. And but we're not putting it on that much thicker. It's just some thicker than it was before. The first couple of layers were so super thin, you almost couldn't even tell they were painted. Now this one, you're gonna, when he comes out this time, you'll be able to tell a difference. You'll be going, oh yeah, I see it now on the nails. I can actually tell they're a different color from his fingers. You know, where I painted his fingers pink. They almost look the same as his fingers, but this coat is going to make them look darker. So when he comes back out, you'll see nails. You'll actually see the nails. And they'll be much darker. There we go. Just keep it very smooth and just smooth it around until it looks good. And that's all you can do. There's too much on my brush. If you've got too much on your brush, just go to another nail you haven't painted yet and put some of it on there, and then you'll have less on your brush. Sometimes you can actually paint 2 or 3 nails with what you have on the brush. I try to get the least little bit that I can because I don't like taking it off. It's not fun. He's got a hair stuck to his finger. Usually on heat set dolls, if a piece of fuzz or a little hair or something is superficially stuck to their skin, you don't have to worry about it, because after they bake, the static electricity will somehow release, and it'll just, you can just take your hand and wipe it off. Usually it's not stuck. Now, I do know from my experiences with the little experience I did have with air dry, it's like it sucks every little piece of lint that's floating in the air or anything. It gets sucked right down to your doll. And it's very, very hard to remove it. That's one of the things that stopped me from painting the doll. I was making a series on painting a air dry doll, and it was getting so much lint stuck to it that I felt that I must try to remove it. So I stopped recording and I started attempting to remove it. Well, I picked the wrong way to remove it because, well, I'm not experienced with air dry, and I didn't know that the paint would come off, and I decided to wipe them down with alcohol. And I thought, well, I'll just wipe her down with some alcohol, and it'll take off all that lint, because it cleans dolls real good, alcohol does. And it'll leave me with just, a clean doll. No, the paint came off. Okay, I'm going to put this in here and rinse it off a bit. And now that he's just sitting there trying to dry a bit while we're going to mix a jar of paint, we're going to mix some red. And the reason I picked red is 2 reasons. 1, I have the least of that. And 2, I use more of it than any other color. And 3, it is harder to mix than other colors. So I'm going to get my jar over here. I have a jar that I mix it in. That's not it. Where's my red jar? That's not it. That's not it. Oh, I just got something on my fingers from that jar. Some of these jars will start to leak after a while. And, oh, this is it. This is the one I mix it in. I have some paint up here, and I've been wanting to check it and see if it's any good. It is older paint that I mixed back when I still had some, oh, that's that pink paint. See, this is about the color that it comes out. Whoops, I'm knocking stuff down. I don't know what I'm knocking down. Oh, glue. Let's don't knock that down. That spills on the floor. It won't be any good anymore. This is some of that paint I mixed. It's so pink looking. I know probably you can't tell on camera, but it's very pink. I need to doctor it up, but I'm not going to do it right now. This paint, I tried to liquefy because it's so valuable. This is Genesis paint, and this is some I made. It says glaze on it because I made it with glazing gel, and glazing gel is similar to thinning medium, except it's just very, very translucent. And I was using it for lips and nails, and I had this much what's in this jar, and it just started getting so dry and hard that I quit using it and mixed up another jar. And that was this jar, but I mixed up a whole lot less this time. And it started getting hard too. There is just a rut in this floor. And the wheel of my chair gets stuck in it. So if I don't move it over to the side, I'm stuck in that rut. It's like these floors are no good in these apartments. Anyway, I wanted to see, and it's not. It's not getting any less globby. See, it's just globby. Look at that. It's softer. It was hard as a rock before, and I put some excess oil and some thinning medium in it, And what I was trying to do was trying to reconstitute it down into a liquidy. It's just really, really caked in here into something liquidy that I could use. Now, it would take just tons of mixing, but I think it's probably worth it because this color is so good. I mean, it is so excellent that I want to use it. I just don't know if I can. It is super, super, super just blobby. It looks like cottage cheese almost. That's the consistency of it. And if I mix it enough and smash it around, I could probably make it work. I just don't know if it's worth the work. Let's see what this one looks like. Ooh, I'm getting it all over my fingers. Oh, this is a messy job. Mixing paint is not a clean activity. It's a very dirty one. Well, this one seems much smoother. Let me get another stick. Ugh. This one is much smoother. Much, 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 much smoother. I could make this work. This one is liquidy. Look at that. It just runs. It's still blobby a little bit. And what happens is paint particles will not melt. And so you have this paint that has what they call granules in it. And granules are just undissolved little specks of paint. Little specks. But when you're painting your doll, you will notice that these little specks are all over your doll and they're darker than the rest of the doll. So it's not very good. I'm going to get another jar out. This is a clean new jar. I have a box of jars down here on the floor. And I am going to try to mix this into, if I can get this out, this could make some awfully good paint. If I can get it smooth enough to use. I just don't know yet. It might be a lost cause. And if it is, well, I'll just throw it out. But I don't want to throw it out. It is such valuable paint. This color is just phenomenal. This is a great, great color. This is a great color too, but it seems a little too lumpy. I just don't know if I can make it work. It's mixed with a different medium, which is called glazing gel, and that glazing gel is super different. I don't know how to put it. I'm going to try to put some Exodus oil. Well, I have some in a squeeze bottle. I forgot. I put it in this little squeeze bottle. This little squeeze bottle was a bottle of Eileen's paper glaze. But Eileen's paper glaze is as long as it's wet, you can clean it up with soap and water. So after I got this empty, I got all the glazing gel out that I could use. I took it to the sink and washed it real quick before it got a chance to get hard, and cleaned this jar so super good that I can put my Exodus oil in there. This is just an oil. It looks a little bit similar to a cooking oil or any other oil that you would use for anything else. See, it just goes right into here like an oil. It's just an oil. I'm going to put a good little squeeze in there because I'm going to try to reconstitute some of this into a paint that I can use. And if I can't do it, well, then it's a waste. But I want to try because I love this Genesis color. It is so, so wonderfully great. And I'm going to put some of this in here, and it should just liquefy right down. And that's what it's doing. It looks like it's liquefying right down. But is it actually? I don't know. What we have to see is it going to have granules in it when we get finished? And I cannot tell yet because it is just super globby right now. And it is liquefying. It turns it into almost like like cranberry juice. It almost looks like cranberry juice into a color, a liquidy color that, yes, you can probably use. It looks like I might be able to use it. I want to put enough in here to mix enough to actually do some good. But the test is going to be, will it leave granules on the doll? And I'll be using my test kit for this. You'll be able to see me use a test kit. This is what you get a test kit for. A test kit is just a kit that you bought, or maybe one that you made a mistake on and you can't get all the paint off of it or something. Even after you stripped it, all the paint would not come off maybe. And so you're going to save it instead of throwing it out and use it for your practice kit or your test kit. On a test kit, You test out paints, you test out techniques that you're unsure about, and you don't hurt the doll you're working on by doing that. And you can strip them over and over and over and over again until they just won't work anymore. And usually what I do is, all I really want to see with this is, will it leave granules on my doll? So I'm going to be mixing some of this up into a paint. And if this doesn't work, we'll be mixing, I've got to get a cleaner stick. That stick has got too much paint stuck to it. And every time I think I have it smooth, another little bit of it falls off of that stick and puts another blob in my paint here. All I want to do is see if I can get it down to where there's no granules left in it. And will it paint a normal layer of paint on my doll? And if it will, I'm going to use this for my red. I don't know if y'all could hear that or not. It's some kind of banging from another apartment. People are so noisy down here. Now I'm also going to be adding some thinning medium. This is also another way to thin your paint. It will help to liquefy that paint a little more. I'm going to put a generous amount in there because, well, I want to see if it's going to work. Wipe it off the outside of your bottle. You'll have a greasy mess when you pick it back up. And I'm going to also be mixing that around a good bit before I put any paint thinner, real paint thinner in there. It is turning into a beautiful liquid. I'm hoping and praying that this is usable. If it is, I'll be reconstituting a lot of this in the future. But I'm doing it right now to show y'all this is how you mix paint. It's not a fast process. You have to get all these lumps out. If you can't get them out, you're going to end up with something on your doll. I've used granular paint, though. I have. What you have to do is, if your paint is granule and you don't want to throw it away because you just can't afford to buy more or something, usually it gets granular because it's old. It starts to lose its creaminess and it starts to be a harder paint. And that usually happens because it's old. But if let's say you have some paint and it's all you have and you can't really afford to buy any more right now and it's granular like that, you can still use it. I've done it many times. What you have to do is mix it up with your paintbrush, and then after you've mixed it, give it just a second or two for it to start to, see, that's very watery. The color is not staying. It's because I think it's because it's mixed with glazing gel instead of, it's just too thin. That would make a wash. This will not make, I don't think, that it will make a paint color. Let me get my ugly little practice kit up here. This is a doll that I got from, it's a very ugly doll kit. And I tried to cut her eye out, and I was very unsuccessful at that. And I'm going to get a sponge, and I'm going to try this on this doll. I don't know how it's going to work, but I'm going to try it. I'm going to use one of these throwaway paint brushes because I don't want to get this color all in my paint brushes that I use all the time if it's not going to work. And I'm going to try to get enough of it on this sponge to do some good. See what a beautiful color that is. I just don't know if it's going to work. It seems very watery to me. And you know, when I say water, I don't mean actual water. We don't use any water in heat set paint. Okay, that should be enough to put some on her and see how it looks. This is a very pinkish looking kit anyway. Oh, there you go. That's the way to do it. Just drop your paintbrush right on the floor and get it dirty with hairs and whatever else might be down there. And also let it bounce against your clothes and get paint all over your clothes. Okay, here we go. See, it's got a granule right there in her cheek already. I don't know if you can see it. Sometimes you can get the granules off, and it's not bad. It's actually working pretty good. That is a pretty good color. I really can't tell for sure on this pink doll, so I'm going to get Pearl out. Pearl is a doll that I also was using for a test kit. Oops, don't put your clothes in your paint jar. Ugh. I was using her for a test kit as well, and I cut her face off because I wanted to demonstrate how to put eyes in a doll. So this is a doll head with no face on it. I'm just going to put some on the back of her head. There's plenty of spots. I've already put paint on her, but I'll still be able to tell by uh, uh, well, I'll get my words in a minute. I'll still be able to tell by the way this goes on if it's working or not. She's more the same color as my doll kit is. So here we go. We're going to put some of this on her and see what happens. See, it's just a beautiful color of red. It's very dark though, but that's workable. We can actually pounce it around and make it work. See, this is what a test kit is for, to try out your paint. And I love that color. It is gorgeous. Oh, I love it. It's kind of dark, but we can make it lighter if we need to. And it pounces on really well, and the granules are few and far between, I would say. I'm not going to say you're not going to get a granule with this paint, because you very well could, but you're not going to get a lot of them, I don't think. It reconstituted very well, I think. So I will be using this paint. But in the meantime, we are still going, it's just pouncing and pouncing all over this doll. In the meantime, I'm going to be mixing some of the other color of red that I normally use. Because, well, this is not going to last forever. It would last a long time. There is a lot of paint in this jar. And I made this much with just a little bit of it. Just a tiny bit of the paint. And it's a very beautiful color, and I love it. But we're going to also mix a jar of the regular red that I've been using, that I mixed with the Gemini. This is Genesis red. This is very, very old paint that I've had up on the shelf for a long time. And I didn't want to throw, this is also a way to break up granules. Shake it real hard, but you better make sure your lid is very good. Otherwise, you better shake over the garbage can. I love that color. That is a beautiful, beautiful color. But for right now, we're going to put this up. I'm so glad I tested that out. And y'all got to see me do it. This is what I made it out of, I think. I don't know. I don't remember which one I took it out of, really. I may have took it out of that one. But they're basically the same. One's made with thinning medium, and the other one's made with glazing gel. And I'm putting the wrong lids on, I think. But it doesn't matter. I'm going to be reconstituting these a little at a time, because they are still fabulous. That Genesis paint, I'm telling you, when they don't know what they did to the doll world when they quit making Genesis. It was a tragedy, let me tell you. But we are getting through it. Let's put it that way. We're getting through it. But because I don't have this all the time, I have to mix my paint. So what I do is I take a jar, and this is an 8-ounce jar. It's bigger than that other one. And I also do about the same thing to it that I've been doing. I will put, I just need more paper towels. This is a messy, messy job. Mixing paint is not a clean job at all. It's very, very messy, and sometimes you have to change your table when you're done with it. What I usually do is I take a day and I mix all my colors that I'm out of. And even if I'm not completely out, if I'm getting low, I'll mix new colors. I'll mix more, because it just goes, paint goes fast when you're painting all the time like I am. So the first thing I always do with my jar, and you don't need to clean it in between unless it's super gunky, and this one's not, is I'll put Exodus oil in. And I put a good bit. Some people only put a few little drops in, but I like to use my Exodus oil. I'll put some in, and then I'll also put some thinning medium in. I already know I want some, so I don't have to wait until I've put the paint in or none of that stuff. I'm just going to put some in. And I usually do it with a stick. I don't usually pour it like I did before. I usually use my stick, and I sort of hold over the jar, and I just do it like this until I think it's enough. I don't measure anything ever. So this is where you can get your paint different, because you're putting different amounts in all the time. And it doesn't matter if you have a lot of painting, thinning medium or just a little, because it has no color. It's not going to deeply affect the color of your paint. They consider this a paint with no color. I don't consider it that. It's thinner than the paint, and you'll see that. I'm fixing to open the paint right now. This is the paint that I use for my red usually. It's called quinacridine. I don't know how to say that. Crimson number 1. It's a very, very dark color. But even as dark as that is, it's going to look very pink in the bowl, in the jar. So I try not to cross-contaminate my paints by sticking a dirty stick into the paint. So I usually just get a clean one. These were a penny a stick, really. I got 50 of them for 50 cents. So anyway, we usually mix it. I recently just mixed this, so I know that it's pretty mixed already. I usually mix it with a toothpick, though, because we don't want to get a lot of paint on a stick and then throw the stick away. You're throwing away a bunch of paint. And paint's expensive enough. I'm just going to give this a little mix in here so that I can add my paint. I'm going to put a big glob like this because I'm going to try to make an 8-ounce jar of it. What we really need to do is try to make a 4-ounce jar. That way you can tweak your color a little bit, because I have put too much paint in there and had to pour some off in another container so I could dilute it some more. But I don't think this is too much. I'm just going to put it in, and I'm going to just try to get as much off the stick as I can, because I'm going to save this stick in case I need to get any more out of that jar. But I'm going to try to mix it with this stick. This is my mixing stick. And see, it's just totally liquefying the paint. It's turning it from a solid into a creamy, liquidy liquid. And I can see that there's granules in this paint. This paint, even brand new, doesn't have the same quality that Genesis has. I don't care what kind of paint you're using, you're going to have some granules, and we have to work around that. We have to liquefy it as much as possible and get it down to the consistency that we really, really want it to be. And that takes mixing. And because this paint is going to come out a pinkish, purplish looking color, we're going to add some blue to it. And what I usually do, because I don't use much blue, is I just pour some out of this blue. But just for the sake of mixing, I'm going to get out a blue from up there. The color that I use is vein blue. Some people use aquamarine blue. And I don't think I have any of that. If I do, I don't know where it is. But I have some vein blue. Vein blue is a kind of teal color. It's not real blue. Let me see if I have a blue. Let me see. Yellows, reds. Oh. I used to have lots of different reds. Some of these just say colors on them. Literally, I just quit putting the colors. I quit trying to get a thing for each color. Mars black. No, none of those are it. Sometimes I will put some, if I can't get the color right, sometimes I will put a little bit of purple blush creases. I don't know. None of these look like, I don't think I have any blue. I have different little drawers of colors of paint up here. No, I don't have any. Okay. Some of the drawers are this size, some of them are double that size. But sometimes if I can't get the color right, I'll put a little bit of the ethnic lip nail and blush in there, but usually I don't do that. So this is the blue. It's not the same color as the aquamarine blue. The aquamarine blue is more like a navy blue. This one looks kind of tealish to me. And so I'm just mixing it with a toothpick to get it nice and creamy. And then I'm just going to take some. We don't need a lot. Nowhere near the amount of red we put in there. I'm going to put about that much. I think that's probably enough. We don't want to turn it absolutely purple. Red and blue do make purple, so we want to keep that in mind. We don't want purple. We want a deeper red. And the only other color we could add to it is yellow, and yellow would be totally wrong. So blue's the only color we can add to get this into a deeper color, or black. We could possibly add some black. But this is going to get it into a deeper, more bloody looking color. It's going to be a lot less blue, a lot less pinky looking, and a lot more bloody looking. We want it to look like blood, kind of. This is looking a little bit purple to me. It's starting to look purplish. So I'm going to add just a tiny bit of another red color. It's going to be the ethnic lip nails and blush. The regular lip nails and blush is just super, super pink. I don't like it at all. Let me see if I can try not to get any more paint on my clothes and find that ethnic lip nail and blush. That's regular. Pyro red. These are colors I bought when I was trying to get another ethnic. That's it right there. When I was trying to get another color besides lip nail blush to use for a red color, I just ordered, I'm getting paint all over my clothes. I just ordered some paint colors and I didn't know what I was getting, and some of them were just no good. But I still have them and I'm not going to throw them away. So I'm going to put the top back on this blue because I don't think I'm going to use it anymore. And I'm going to try a little bit of this ethnic lip nail blush in there. It's like a dark brownish red to darken it into a red. Ethnic babies have darker lips than white babies. So that's why this one is a reddish sort of brown color. You don't want to detract from their ethnic skin color by putting a pinky red color on. But this will darken the paint up just a little bit and make it not so starkly purpley red. I'm just going to put a little bit of that in there now. I usually wipe it on the side of the bottle, on the side of the jar, because it's a little bit hard to put it down in the color and get it to mix. I'm going to save this toothpick until I'm sure I'm done with it. And I'm going to mix this in. This is going to darken it just a little bit. See, this is what you have to do if you want to be a mixer of colors. I can't do this to every color, but I almost have to do it to this color because there's no other way. So now we have our Exodus oil in here. We have our, oh, it's getting a very pretty color now. We have our thinning medium, and we have our colors in here. Now what we need to do is combine them really, really well so that we have a color that we like. It's starting to turn into a bloody looking color. So now I'm going to add a little bit of paint thinner to it. And this is regular paint thinner that you can just buy at Walmart. And I'm going to start mixing it in. And what I'm going to do is put this somewhere. I don't know where. I don't want to get it all over my table. And I'm going to put the lid on and shake it a bit because it's going to mix a whole lot better if I do that. I am making a teetotaling mess here, I'm telling you. My fingers are just every color of the rainbow now. So we're going to put this lid on and we're going to give it a good hard shake. Know what your jar is going to do before you do this. If you're not sure your jar is going to hold the paint, you need to do it over the garbage can, because I have splashed paint on so many kits it's not even funny. Now what we want is a bloody looking red that still looks a little purple to me. I don't know what y'all think, but it's not the same color as the red I already have. And I'm going to wipe my hands a little better, and I'm going to show you the paint that I already have. And we're going to test it out on a paper towel and see the difference. If we can tell the difference on camera, that will be a miracle. Oh, let's see. This is the color I already have. It's much, much redder. This one still looks a little purple. I probably put a little too much. See, it's purpley looking compared to this one that looks just bloody red. This looks purple. This looks red. I probably put a little too much blue in there. It really doesn't take a lot of blue. But with the amount of red I had put in there, I thought that was the appropriate amount of blue, but it was too much, evidently, because it's just still too purple. So once again, I'm going to add some more color. All this paint is just making our paint very, very dark. We're probably going to have to take some of it out and put it in another container so that we can put more paint thinner in here than what we have. And put that much more in there. It's a lot of paint. Because we're not going to be able to dilute this probably as much as we need to without, you know, overflowing the jar, so to speak. And that's not going to mix. It's almost impossible to mix the paint up once you have put some paint thinner in there. You almost have to shake it because it's just not going to. Sometimes I'll take one of these brushes and I'll just stomp on the paint like this, and it'll sort of break it up. But you have to find it first. It's down in there floating around somewhere. And it's sometimes globby and sometimes not. And you have to pounce out almost all of that thick stuff. And see how it gets all in your brush? It's all in this brush. It's just conglomerated into the brush. And hairs are too. How those hairs got in there, I do not know. But it's very hard to get the lumps out. So usually what I do is I'm making such a big mess, is I just put the lid back on and go on and shake it, because that's going to give you the best mix that you can get. So here we go. We're going to shake it a bit. Whoops, see, that's what I'm talking about right there. You see what I did? I just splashed it all over my table. This is one messy, messy job. It is super, super messy. At least I didn't splash it on the doll. There's a blessing in disguise. I didn't screw the lid back on, or there was too much paint puddled on the lid or something, because it came right out. And I mean right out. Look at this mess. Oh, this is disgustingly messy. I almost wish we hadn't mixed paint today. Now I got more paint on my clothes. I don't wear nice clothes, anything nice to paint with. You'll learn that real quick, because you'll run it. Just wear sloppy, slouchy, baggy clothes that you don't care anything about. Cheap t-shirts and pants are the best way to go. I don't know what I did to make that leak, but I made it leak. I'm going to wrap it in this now to shake it. At least that way, if any more comes out, maybe the paper towel will catch it. I'm going to have to change my whole table, throw away a bunch of sponges that have paint all over them now, dark, concentrated paint all over them. I don't know what I'm going to do to this pencil to get it back right. Maybe sharpen it off, I don't know. It's all over the tip of the pencil. Have to wash these. Oh, what a mess. It's messy. I'm telling you, mixing paint is not fun, and it's not easy. This is why I don't mix paint. I like to have my paint in pre-mixed colors. I hate doing this, but on some colors, I have to do it because, well, there's no other alternative. But I'm not doing this for every color I do. I'm just not. This is not worth it to me. This is much, much better. Much more the color I want. So we're going to dilute it a whole lot here, because that's what we need to do to get it the color we want. And that's probably still too thick. I'm going to mix it up a little bit with this paintbrush again, and hopefully see what it looks like on a paper towel. Way too dark. Way, way too dark. We want it more this color. Thinner. They're almost the same color. This is what I mean by you'll never mix the same color twice. You'll never do it. That's one reason I don't mix paint colors. This is probably what made it splash out, as too much was in the lid, and I didn't clean any of it out. And when I put the lid on, it ran down the side of the jar, and when I shook it, it just came all out. So I'm going to try to clean up some of this mess on the table. And this is how you mix paint. Believe it or not, this is how you do it. And it's very messy. And I don't like doing it at all. I do it as little as possible. Now, when I mix my other colors, all I do is put the color in there and just dilute it. I don't have to guess at what I'm putting in there and you know, worry over it and all that. I just basically just put it in there, and it's just ready to go. So I'm going to move this up here, and I'm going to remove these filthy paper towels from the table and sort of clean up a bit. And this has got to be diluted some more, but other than that, it's ready. It's the right color. It's right enough. It's as right as I can get it by mixing. But it's not diluted enough. I'm going to have to pour or siphon. I'm probably going to siphon it with one of these bulb syringes. I will siphon off some of the paint that's in there and put it in another jar and re-dilute it a little bit more because it's too dark. But other than that, that is how you do it. It's pretty much a guessing game, and that's why I don't do it. taking off all these dirty paper towels. And yes, there's dirty ones underneath it too, where I didn't remove them when I was painting. And there's my puppy pad. And I'll put clean ones on there after he gets in the oven. I've got to wash my hands before I can touch him because I just think I have too much paint on my hands to touch that doll. And then I'm going to dilute this paint some more and see if it won't work. But I'm loving the other color I mixed. This color right here. It's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And I'm probably going to use it. But this is going to be okay once I dilute it some more. It's the right color at least now. So, yeah, that's how you mix paint. So with this messy mess, I'm going to say please like, subscribe, and share. And happy reborning.